Did SNL get Donald Trump elected in 2016? That is a possible, could be. Anthony Jeselnik, comedian, thinks that SNL, in allowing Donald Trump to come on, was irresponsible and helped to normalize him. But there were a few different instances where the shows were like, you know what, let's have him on. Let's be fair. I mean, Scarborough, who hates him now, had Donald Trump on 1,000 times in a 2-month period. And Anthony Jeselnik, in an interview, he brought up the fact that Jimmy Fallon did the
hair tussle.
The hair tussle.
And if you do it, I will just scream, John.
I didn't do it. Now, he doesn't think that Jimmy Fallon's really to blame for that. He thinks, again, it's actually Lorne Michaels who produced that show as well. And so is Lorne Michaels effectively responsible?
So I would just say this, you like talking about this all the time. We kind of have this conversation about like
what?
Just finding the role of comedy and discourse. You come into from a very intellectual approach. It's like, does it actually do it? Because people ask these questions. Jeselnik is like such a great comedian in that every joke he writes is like the most specific turn of phrase. Like he gets himself into a corner and he's very bold and like very collected. And then he does like a half left turn that's just so precise that you're like, oh my God, you're a genius. You're a brilliant genius at writing comedic jokes. He's an SNL writer. He auditioned for, he was like, they were thinking when they replaced Cecily Strong on Weekend Update, they might just go with him alone. So he did that audition, and it would be great because he is just like this one like virtuoso type comedian. But his specificity on the Lorne Michaels thing is the way that that Fallon's show works. It's not political. The way that
it's
SNL,
the least political of all of those.
It's the least political. It's him playing games and being like, hey, and Jimmy Fallon did feel really bad after that.
He did
apologize.
He apologized, yes. He said he never intended to normalize Trump and he felt depressed. He said, I made a mistake, I'm sorry if I made anyone mad, and looking back, I would do it differently. Look, I have heard that he's just not interested in politics or in it being a political show, which is fine. But it's why I'm less interested. I'm not interested in many of those shows, but I'm the least interested in his because I don't want to see John Krasinski play beer pong. Like I just don't care about that.
People do, and people really
do.
Needed
it's popular. I get it.
People really needed it at that time when Fallon got a show, and it really did change everything. It made everything.
And it blew
fun.
up.
Made it fun. But the SNL thing is what he seems to take issue with because SNL is a political show.
Yes.
Every single time, and he kind of mentions that they're buds. That Lorne Michaels and Trump are buds, and that it really did put him on this national stage that takes a show that does needle you, that goes after Trump, that had been going after Trump, and says, actually, it's okay, we didn't really mean it.
He's in on the joke.
And that's what's so good about Jeselnik is like he did a Trump roast. He performed at the Trump roast, and he's like, he's done a really good job. He's not afraid to, I think his joke was like, he's not afraid to like embarrass himself like on SNL or in the casino business. Like
that's good.
Like that stuff where he is a very straight-faced comedian that doesn't let you know ever, I'm just kidding, bud. He doesn't do that. And that's I think where he takes issue, but I don't know for sure. And again, like I think Jeselnik's like a really insanely talented comedian.
Yeah, look, I think that it's a fine, like I don't actually think there's no one thing got him elected. Lots of things did, and my thing is every like 6 weeks people will attack Susan Sarandon on Twitter, and then 6 weeks later people will attack Deborah Messing on Twitter, and it's like you don't want to know who's responsible for Donald Trump being president? Everyone in the country, because altogether we didn't do what was necessary to stop him. So I'm responsible, you're responsible, Skip, you're responsible, you watching, you're responsible, not singularly, but we are all responsible. Now let's move on. But I do think that it was a really bad move by SNL to normalize him. I think that a lot of people do watch it. It implied that all of the weirdness that was Trump is not a thing that should scare you, it's a funny thing, and it's not a funny thing, or it's not primarily a funny thing at the very least.
Right.
And also pragmatically, considering how much their show was going to become mocking Trump, it was a horrible decision in that respect. Because I think it undercuts it to some extent.
In what way? What do you mean by it undercuts it?
Like I think, so the idea that he is so important, what he's doing is so important that they had, was it Alec Baldwin or whatever, who comes in constantly to do that one thing. Having him in just seems like Like the stakes are not that high.
For me,
it's just funny.
For me, it's that when you're doing a comedy show, your focus should be on revealing the truth, and that's it. Equal opportunity offender, whatever you want to call it. But when you have Trump on, your priority seems to be like being friends with him now.
Exactly.
And that's not okay. That's not truth.
Yeah.
That's an agenda.
And he's just attacked them constantly since then. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.